Okay, I'll just be loud then. Okay. So, first of all, my talk is about optimizing video delivery on web and our applications. First of all, I'd like to understand that what kind of audience are you guys? Are you guys mostly into professional, or are there students here as well? Mixed match. And what kind of experience do you guys have? More than 5 years of experience, anyone? Okay, good. Okay, so let's start with what ImageKit actually does, and I'll just give a very brief introduction. And if anyone of you have heard about ImageKit before, yes, you used? Yes. Okay, that's great. Good to have some customers around. For people who do not know about it, ImageKit is a damp pipeline for anyone to use, and it's basically a software, a SaaS product that all these companies use on a daily basis to optimize and deliver their images and videos, not just images. Even though ImageKit says image, but we do videos as well, and we provide a complete pipeline for it. And I have been with ImageKit for the last 6 years. I have worked on, as my introduction said, I worked on the entire media optimization pipeline. So any kind of questions you have, any kind of doubts you might have, I hope to clear those for you guys, especially when it comes to videos. So images and videos. Images are the easier part. When you have a website, you can just reduce the resolution of the image. If not reduce the resolution, you can use different formats. You have JPEG, PNG, then you have the more advanced format, WebP, you have AVIF. Those formats are the modern formats that give you much faster performance when it comes to images on your website. But for videos, things get a little trickier. You have your designers will give you videos that are like 44 MB, 50 MB, but delivering them at scale on your website is first of all slower. Whenever you open a website, downloading a 44 MB video, or 44 MB is a number I'm saying because that's the video I'm using right now. But any kind of video, if you're downloading any video more than 10 MB on your customer side, it's not going to load very fast, especially when you're traveling or when you're on 3G or even the normal 4G network. Sometimes it does not load those larger videos. That causes your website to lose customers. People will drop out of the website as soon as they like buffer हो रही है, बंद करो, अगला देखते हैं. Even on YouTube, as normal, if you were traveling somewhere, तुमने YouTube खोला, you see a video, 2 मिनट लगा दिए उसने perfectly, you just close it off and you're like गाने ही सुन लेते हैं. That is a very normal human psychological trait. ठीक है? तो videos को optimize करने के लिए basic सी चीज़ है, we'll have to load them very fast. That involves reducing your latency using certain techniques, using edge caching. Then you reduce the size of your video without losing the quality. Then there is a different technique that we'll cover. It's called adaptive bitrate streaming. You basically adapt your videos to what your customer behavior is. You can adapt to the network conditions, you can adapt to the browser conditions. ABS or adaptive bitrate streaming is a part of this topic, not the entire topic. And load later, that is basically just lazy loading your videos. So let me first show you an application I have here. Yeah. So यहाँ पे I have a very simple application right here. This is मैं mouse ले आता हूँ. Stop touching the laptop. यहाँ पे we have a very simple blog application जिसके अंदर ऊपर we have a video, and since I'm on a good network right now, I am able to easily view this video. And if I actually see this video right now, it's a 44 MB video. It is downloading, it is working because I'm on a very good internet. And right now, the first technique is already being used here. This video is saved in a S3 bucket in the Mumbai data center, very close by. Now, one thing I'm using here is a CDN Edge. I'm directly linked it to a CloudFront distribution. That CloudFront distribution allows me to serve the content through them at anywhere in the world. But as soon as you add a CDN Edge, you're basically adding a layer between your storage and your user. Now that CDN Edge can sit anywhere, and especially if your customers are based out in US and your data is sitting in Mumbai, the Mumbai to US round trip type is going to take a lot of time. The CDN Edge acts as a middleman which keeps a cache of your content near your customer. That means for the first request, your content will be delivered from the S3 bucket, and then it will be cached on your CDN Edge. After that, the Edge will start delivering that content on behalf of your server in Mumbai. And this Edge will be sitting right next to the customer. For example, the customer is in North Virginia, your bucket is in Bombay. The Edge that the customer is using is in North Virginia. The latency to deliver that content from North Virginia will be way less than delivering from Bombay. This is one of the basic techniques we use to speed up the latency, to reduce the latency of any content that you deliver. Okay. Next thing we'll discuss about is how do we reduce the size of the video. Now, a video is packaged as two components. There is a container and there is a codec. Now, what is the difference between a container and a codec is, you've heard .mp4, MKV. These are all container formats. This is how the audio and the video is bundled together in a single file. Each of this video binary is saved using a codec that will be either H.264. These are some words you might have heard if you have worked on something that relates to videos. And the other one is VP9, there is AV1. These are different codecs as to what kind of encoding these videos follow. And this encoding also gives you more control about what kind of compression there is. VP9 has a higher compression than H.264. AV1 will have a higher compression in some cases as compared to VP9. There is VP8, there are a million container formats. We'll be focusing on these three. Now, when you bundle these together, these get bundled into a container, that is your MP4. An MP4 container can have multiple video streams, it can have multiple audios. When you're delivering on your website, you want to reduce the size. So what you do is, first of all, you try to remove any kind of layers that you do not want to deliver on the website. For example, I have this video, okay? I have this video, and for this video and for this demo actually, I'm going to use ImageKit because it has a couple of things that makes it easier for me to do it, but you're free to use any tool that is available to you. Okay, so here I have a very basic example. We have a road trip card that renders a video. I'll make it larger. Is this legible? Back picture. तो यहाँ पे मैंने वो जो CDN का URL था उसको मैंने डायरेक्ट रेंडर करा हुआ है in HTML5 वीडियो, and for the ease of my sanity right now, मैं use करूँगा a component that I've made, ImageKit video का, that is just basically delivering that content through ImageKit. मैंने जो S3 bucket है मेरी, जो ये मेरी S3 bucket है जहाँ पे वीडियो पड़ी है, that I've linked to my ImageKit account and वो डायरेक्टली वहाँ से डिलीवर होना शुरू हो जाएगा. All of this can be found in the documentation. Again, I'm just using ImageKit just for the ease of it. You can use any tool to implement the techniques that I'm going to teach you. Okay, so as soon as I change it to ImageKit, we can see that the video is being delivered from there, and यहाँ पे the video was an MP4 video, 44 MBs, and within जैसे ही मैंने उसको ImageKit में switch किया, we are delivering a WebM video that is just 8 MBs. We've reduced that entire video without losing quality. We've reduced it from 44 MB to 8 MB, and we are going further. हम और छोटा करेंगे. यहाँ पे we have ये वीडियो है. I know ये वीडियो इससे बड़ी कभी भी मेरी किसी भी डिवाइस पे नहीं रेंडर होने वाली, because मैंने वो एलिमेंट का साइज लॉक करा हुआ है in my front end. I'm saying this, the maximum size it will go is 900 pixels. So right now, if I show you this video in a new tab, इसका resolution नहीं आएगा for some reason आ नहीं रहा, but this is a full 1080p video, and if I reduce it using a feature that ImageKit provides, width is 900. So यहाँ पे ImageKit का specific feature है, मैंने query parameter add कर दिया that changes the width of the video to 900 pixels. जैसे ही वो 900 pixels पे हुई, मुझे पता है इससे बड़ी render नहीं होगी. It reduced down to 2.9 MB. We went from 44 to 8, now to 2.9. Now imagine अगर ये मेरी वीडियो जो है, ये सिर्फ एक बैकग्राउंड में वीडियो है. I do not need audio, but I'm still delivering audio. अगर मैं इसको ओपन करूँ, माइक नहीं चल रहा तो I can't make it. But there is an audio to it. ठीक है, मतलब यहाँ पे वॉल्यूम वाला कंट्रोल भी दिख रहा है, तो there is an audio. Now the delivering this audio is unnecessary for me. If your use case allows you to do that, you can disable that completely. And as soon as I disable audio, this is also another transformation that we provide, that you can disable the audio directly from there. And we are now at 2.6 MB. We went from 44 to 8 to 2.9 to 2.6. We've gradually reduced the amount of data that we were shipping from our servers to the client system. This works in two ways. It improves your overall client experience. कि तुम वीडियो मैंने खोली, वीडियो चलनी शुरू हो गई, everything's good. This reduces your bandwidth used from S3. किसी ने भी अगर प्रोडक्शन पे S3 से कोई कंटेंट डिलीवर किया है, they know the cost is too damn high. उसका बेसिक सबसे पहले ये होता है, you connect it to a CDN, that reduces that cost. The second level is you optimize and reduce the data that you are shipping. Now, इसीलिए हमने पहले वीडियो में से रिसाइज किया, हमने उसको प्रॉपर फॉर्मेट में कन्वर्ट किया. We got it to a state where we're not delivering audio because audio नहीं ज़रूरत. अगर मेरे को audio is a customer requirement, if your use case needs it, you can keep it. Otherwise, you can remove it. ठीक है? Now, reducing the resolution we've already talked about. Now, adaptive streaming. There are two techniques in which we deliver video. ये वाली जो वीडियो है मैंने डिलीवर करी है, दिस इज अ प्रोग्रेसिव स्ट्रीम। मैं जैसे जैसे सीख कर रहा हूँ वो आगे डेटा डाउनलोड कर रहा हूँ। देयर इज अ डिफरेंट टेक्निक दैट एग्जिस्ट्स। जैसे यूट्यूब में होता है, यू आर वॉचिंग अ वीडियो, चल रही है, योर नेटवर्क ड्रॉप्स फॉर अ सेकेंड, वो वीडियो 1080p से 240p। नाउ दिस प्रोसेस इज ऑटोमेटेड, बट इसके पीछे देयर इज अ लॉट मोर टेक्निक्स टू इट। आपका वो विल डिस्कस, बट वन ऑफ द good things about using a technique like this is it improves your customer experience. You don't lose the user. अगर कोई वीडियो देख रहे हो आप, it drops to 240p, you'll just be like, हाँ ठीक है, I can understand what is going on, I'll just continue with it. If you're watching a TV show or an episode or even an educated video, so those kind of things improve your experience there as well. So, there are multiple techniques that we use to implement adaptive streaming. We can use HLS or Dash. These are prominently the most commonly used. HLS is by Apple, and Dash is, I think, by Google, if I'm not wrong. Or yeah, HLS is by Apple and Dash is by. Did they make it? No. Yeah, actually it's an open standard Dash. Yeah. So these are two techniques that are very commonly used, and they have different use cases depending on what kind of content you're delivering. I am not going into detail about what these two different formats are and what they do. I will actually go ahead and try to use HLS streaming for this example right now. So I have a component right here, again a React component that uses HLS.js, and we have a complete component ready. I'm just going to replace it right now. And since this does not use any transformation, I'm going to remove that. Now, before I actually show you guys what has happened, creating an HLS and a Dash stream is a little tricky, I would say. It's not impossible, it's not cool. It is tricky in the sense that when you're dealing with a lot of videos, you have to first download that, you have to get that video. Once you have that video, you have to generate different variations. And when you generate these variations, you have to split them up again and package them into a playlist or a bundle, usually called as a manifest file. Now, with ImageKit, we've already figured it out, made it easier for everyone. All you need to do is add ikmaster.m3 UI with the specific streaming resolutions, and you are good to go. Now, what exactly is an HLS stream? It contains different resolutions of the same video. It contains different variations, and it contains them as playlist files. Now, these playlist files have chunks, and your browser or your front-end video player will have the logic to swap in and out these chunks depending on what your network conditions are or what your browser conditions are. Now, if your browser screen right now, if I show you, it tried to play the exact 1080p video, but the box, actually the container in my DOM is way smaller for a 1080p video. Now, what I will do is, I will enable a setting in an HLS player that is called cap level to layer size. As soon as I do this, so as soon as I did this, actually, let me it was sorting with the name, so I had to reopen it again. And I'll show you once more. This is my original stream. It's trying to load the 1080p video. First it tried 360p just to gauge if my network had the support for a 1080p. So it started downloading that. As soon as I changed it to cap based on my DOM size, it's just downloading the 360p video. I can make it download the larger one by just resizing it. Now it's downloading 480p. If your content is just being delivered in a 300 by 300 box, there is no point of loading the complete 1080p video. You can use a smaller size, but if you're using ABS, it handles that for you as well. Saying that, it does not mean that you deliver every video that you have in ABS, because ABS does have its downsides. It requires more processing on your server, it requires more content, more binaries to be sent out from your server. But it is beneficial when you're doing like a 20-minute episode. You have a edutech platform, you want to deliver videos, then that is when that ABS helps you. But creating it for a 5-second video or a 15-second reel will not benefit you that much than just directly just optimizing one single file and delivering that. Yeah. So there's that. Yeah. As I said, the reason that you use adaptive bitrate streaming depends on these two questions. Are your videos long enough? It's not going to help you in shorter videos, as I just said. Do you want or need to adapt your videos as well? You absolutely need it. If you have like an e-commerce platform with product videos, but you have images as well, do you need to adapt your videos? Do you need to do all the effort to do that? So these kind of answers depend on your use case to use case, and that is how you decide. Another easier techniques that you can use without any external platform or processing, just lazy load your videos. Just do not let any videos that are below your critical part of the page to load up until the user interacts. Okay, so I will show you another thing here. Now, right now, this Trans-Siberian Highway is coming on my first page. I'm gonna reorder it so it comes niche. Let's move this and refresh. Now, I'm using something known as intersection observer. I'm pretty sure you guys have used it. Now, how the intersection observer works is, it monitors my DOM, and as soon as I scroll into it and that particular component intersects with my viewport, that is when it will start loading it. Now, the video hasn't started to load. As soon as I reach that element, it started to load and everything is working. It's even downloading the 480p video. Now, do I need to start playing the video as soon as the user comes to it? No. So instead of doing that autoplay, I'll enable auto pause. Now what that does is, so I'll actually do this, and as soon as I move out of the page, the video will pause there. As soon as my element goes out of my viewport, the video is going to pause right there from where it was. So at this point of time, your video is playing outside your port, but we're not letting it consume any more data because we've essentially paused it. As soon as I go back into it, it'll start playing again. So right now it's at 3 seconds, 5 seconds. I went out, it hasn't downloaded any data, it hasn't done anything, but the video has paused. And when I come back to it, yeah, it's a smaller video, so it's loaded every chunk right now. But you get the point. When your video goes out, you just essentially pause it. It prevents the browser from downloading more content. For example, if it had been a 1 gigabyte video and I have streamed like 200 MB of it, and rather than pausing, I just scrolled out of it. My video is still playing. The state of the video is still in playing state, but since I use that instruction of the observer to just kind of pause it, if you get what I mean, it will not download any additional data. It will stop using my net. And of course, you can disable autoplay completely. You can wait for your user to go ahead and click it. Like if I go into this and autoplay false. Now the user has to wait for it to work. He has to explicitly click it to download, start streaming. Otherwise, the data will not download. Now, in a normal video, you can also do preload. You have preload parameters. Now, what these preload parameters are, it tells the browser if it has to start downloading the video or not. So, if I say preload is equal to none. Refresh it once. Yeah. We have a blank container. It hasn't started to load anything about the video until I go ahead and click play here. It will not even download the starting bytes. It will not even check if the video actually exists or not. Now, we have one small issue here. There's no thumbnail. What do we do about that? So, for the thumbnail, ImageKit also provides you with a feature that extends, that you can use in your normal HTML pages. It just generates a thumbnail from the first frame of the video using your URL itself. You can do it at anyone. You can use your own S3 bucket. You can save your thumbnails there. You can deliver that. I'm just using ImageKit to ease my pain. So I will just do this and I can did I spell thumbnail right? Yeah. Oh, got it. One small mistake. Okay. Sorry about that. I'll just do one. Yeah, so now it's going to try and create that thumbnail for me, and as soon as it's ready, the thumbnail is visible, and if I actually go ahead and refresh here, that is the only request it made. We have not loaded anything. We have a good customer experience, we have good UX where the first frame is visible for anyone who's seen, and as soon as I click play, the video is going to start playing. And if you do not wish to generate those thumbnails and do not wish to actually put in the effort of creating a pipeline or even using ImageKit for it, you can just do preload metadata. Now what preload metadata does is, it tries to download the first 3 seconds of the video in a very basic term. First 3 seconds it will start to try to download. It will try to find the first frame and it will just render it there and make it ready, so as soon as someone clicks play, that first 3 seconds are already buffered. That is another technique you can use to make sure your page opens very promptly. You're not loading that entire video as soon as someone opens Nykaa.com, Myntra.com, anything. As soon as you open, you have to make sure your time to interactivity is always less for your users to have a good experience. And I'll just summarize it for once. Video optimization, you have to try to get the right codecs and formats. If you have the right codecs and formats, try to reduce the resolution based on what your end result that you need is. You can remove the audio if it's a hero or a banner video. You can use ABS whenever it is actually useful for you. You have to evaluate if using ABS is worth it as per your use case. Then lazy load your videos. You can use customer interaction as a trigger to start downloading that video on your browser. You can pause them as soon as the video goes actually out of frame, out of your viewport, And yeah, that's mostly it for this. You guys can screenshot this slide if you wish. If not, the entire project is available on GitHub. It's in, I think, yeah. So it's available on GitHub, this entire project that I showed you guys. So if you want to experiment with it, if you want to give it a shot, everything is set up out of the box. You can use the video that is there, you can use the code that is there to run your experiments. And apart from that, yeah, that's mostly it. You can reach out to anyone. You can reach out to me anytime. That's not a problem. Yeah. Any questions?